I've done some critical works in this area, is to say, how do you get there and avoid institutional failure problem? So once we have the credit scores, then we can actually make sure that our hustlers increase the credit scores. It will be the tail that wags the dog. I remember I used the same words when we started M-Pesa. And I say, this is an intervention that is going to discipline the market. And especially in Hustler Fund, when we move to the next stages, there are about 4 stages. We are just on the first stage, and you can see the successes. The most important thing is that those who are borrowing 300 times, they are borrowing for business, isn't it? It's not for consumption, because you can't churn consumption, but you can churn business, isn't it? And if you're making some value addition, and every time savings, it means that on one side, by now, I think I saw about 875 million savings that have gone into that. Every time, you can imagine, if you add 8.9 billion plus 875 savings, you can see we are all coming close to the figures that we started with. So essentially, the leakage is very, very minimal. And that is something that we didn't need to look at. When we focus on our core group of hustlers, those are the people who climb up. By the way, I said it is an intervention. Why is it an intervention? It will remain at the bottom of the pyramid. Let people move up, isn't it? It's different from when we started microfinance. We thought it will remain, microfinance institutions will remain at the bottom. But as soon as the microfinance CEOs were sat down with a tie and they started looking upwards, they decided they should not be there. They should be somewhere else. But they left everybody below, isn't it? So an intervention should make sure that it remains where it is targeted. So the Hustler Fund will remain there. It will also show that the developments in the market will follow that. By the way, it's just a matter of time, Chairman, to see so many interventions, so many other private sector models coming and sticking to the bottom, isn't it? This is the reaction in markets. Investments in markets, we always say there's hardening behavior. You find people now coming and focusing there because that's where the groups are, isn't it? When you start seeing 300 when we started the first few weeks, we all climbed to about 300 transactions per second. That is not a small figure, isn't it? Those transactions are many. But the most important thing is, I just wanted to emphasize interventions. What are the interventions supposed to do? They're supposed to be catalytic to the business that you're going to create. Anyway, we can talk about that. I'm sure there are things that we can talk about. By the way, you need also to borrow. I borrow from the Hustler Fund every week because I want to make sure that by the time they come up with a whole computation of credit scores, I'm part of the game, isn't it? The president was giving an example that somebody who just sends his driver to send money. So when it comes to, when you go *254# and you are rated small because you don't transact. So this guy was saying the driver was rated very high and he was rated very low in terms of how much you can borrow. Because it is also looking at your credit, as your transactions history, isn't it? And after that, it's also looking at your savings history. So I also borrow every week and pay back the other week just to make sure that, one, I have savings, they are parked somewhere. And the second thing is that I'm going to have some credit scores to improve on, isn't it? With that, we are going to change the collateral technology. You don't have to go, bring fixed investments. No. For me, the collateral technology in Africa has inhibited the growth of credit market for many decades. Start from the 60s, Go to a bank and try to borrow. And then you're told to bring a fixed assets, because that's the tradition, that's the correct. They have to perfect it, and they have all manner of things. By the time you get to where you wanted, you're already given up, isn't it? So if you change that collateral technology, that at a button of the key of the computer you get your results, you'll be very happy. Anyway, that we can talk about that until cows come home. But the most important thing is I wanted to emphasize the role of interventions where it has the most value addition and impact. Then we come to the ministry, and that is the National Treasury and the Economic. Article 225, Section 1 of the Constitution of Kenya. And the National Treasury, through the Act of Parliament, also stipulates the functions and responsibilities. And this has been actualized again by additional acts. For example, the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and also provides the responsibilities and powers in respect to public financial management, fiscal and budget preparation, and the execution and responsibilities and functions.